Day of Comm Week. I'm Madeline McCullough. I teach in the Elliott School of Communication, and I am really happy to introduce our first speaker, Allison Hamel. She was definitely in my class, a shining star in ad copywriting. She did her final campaign that I still use as an example. How long ago was that? A long time ago. I still use it as an example of a really great student project. She's going to talk a lot about working at Heartspring. I don't know if she's going to talk about anything else, but I just want to say, when Allison started working at Heartspring, I had a little, I don't know, full circle, proud mama duck moment, because I have a son with Down syndrome, and we were at Heartspring twice a week for 13 years getting therapy. I loved the place. It really made a huge difference in my son's life. So I'm so excited that Allison works there and works in communication, getting that message out. So thank you for being here, Allison. Yeah. Without further ado, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Madeline. Good morning, everyone. My name is Allison Hamel, and I'm the graphic design specialist at Heartspring. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come to my presentation. So before I get started, I want us all to take a deep breath in and out to get some positive energy flowing in the room, and for me to get their nerves out, because I haven't given a presentation in about 6 years. So as you can see by the title on the slide, I primarily work behind the scenes and let my designs do the talking. I was also in your Elliott School shoes about 8 years ago, so I crafted my presentation around what college Allison would want to see and learn. I'll have some questions for you guys at the end and chances to win some prizes, so that's your cue to take really good notes. Today, I'll be walking you through my Wichita State University journey, a few jobs I had leading up to Heartspring, and finally, my journey at Heartspring. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So I started my WC journey at the Barton School of Business with a marketing career track. I was in that for about a year, taking my general education classes and a few business classes. However, after that year, I didn't feel like it was a good fit for what I was wanting in my career. I wanted more of the advertising, visual communications, and design route, something that was more behind the scenes. So I got connected with undergraduate advisor Sandy Sipes, who is actually an old family friend, about the Elliott School of Communication, and more specifically, the Integrated Marketing Communication path. This undergraduate program felt more like me, and I was not only able to grow as a designer, but in the communication world overall. It's a good mix of graphic design, communication, and marketing wrapped up into one. So now I'll walk you through some of my favorite courses that I took while in the Elliott School, starting with visual technologies. A show of hands, how many of you have taken this class? Awesome, yeah. So in this class, taught by Amy DeVault, I learned about the principles of design and how design is actually full of crap. And if you've taken this class or any of Amy's design classes, you'll know that CRAP is actually an acronym for contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. These foundations have helped me in all of my jobs throughout the years and have been ingrained in my design process. I think about how to add contrast using colors or fonts. I think about how I can repeat certain shapes or design elements for a cohesive look and feel. I think about how everything aligns in design. How does the eye flow through the design? And finally, I think about the proximity of information or elements and how they create unity in the piece. So next up is ad copywriting. How many of you have taken this class before? Just Sean? Awesome, awesome. Not going to lie, this class challenged me with creative writing, as words are not my forte. I prefer designing them rather than writing them. I envy my friends Shelby and Jen, who can write so eloquently and so easily. You'll meet them later in my presentation, and they're actually in the room with us right now. You guys say hi. The final project for ad copywriting was to create an overall brand campaign for a business or a person. I chose Jacob Bowling. He was an Elliott School graduate, and you may remember him on Channel 963. He was better known as DJ Tight Pants. I'll show you some of the pieces that I created for this project, starting with on this slide. You'll see the logo I created for him. This ad was designed for a magazine or as a flyer to hand out around campus. It's geared towards men, as you'll see later in the body copy. He has a fun tagline of, "His beats are tight and his pants are tighter." It introduces DJ Tight Pants as an edgy yet quirky DJ. So the ad reads, "Meet your wingman. You're musically inclined, get everyone on their feet wingman. He'll serve you customized beats with an eclectic flavor and just enough bite to keep things interesting. With more than 10,000 songs stashed in his library, the word boring ceases to exist. Book him the next time you blow out the candles, raise a bit of moolah for a cause, or want to impress your lady friends with your awesome taste in music. Because a tight pants party is the best kind of party." So here are some more ads that I created for the campaign for DJ Tight Pants. And for these ads, I did a play on words with each of them. The first one saying the perfect set every time, set being a word used in darts as well as in music. The second one, ring in the new year the tight way rather than the right way. And then the third one, the perfect mix every time, because who doesn't love pizza and beer? So I don't think this class is offered anymore, but I took news and information design as a 2-week pre-session class. In this class, we designed magazine and newspaper layouts, infographics, and more. This was a magazine layout for the Grammys, and I like a good theme to center my designs around. For this one, I chose to go off of the word gold in the headline and went with a subtle honeycomb/honeybee design without being too literal. There are no bees on this. Next, we have a WSU infographic, and this was made several years ago, so the numbers will look slightly different than today. But this infographic showed how much does Wichita State cost, how many students were in the class, or average students in the class, went over the 7 colleges, and how many students, or graduate versus undergraduate. Another one, a classmate and I actually made this one together. This was an infographic showing apps for designers that were popular at the time. So finally, I want to take you through the Flint Hills Media Project that covered Symphony in the Flint Hills. Have any of you taken this class? Besides you 3? No? So the event brings together awareness and education of the tallgrass prairie. Typically, the event is held out in the middle of the Flint Hills, but my year, they held it at Fort Riley. In class, we gained experience with project planning, interviewing, video work, photography, design, and working with and relying heavily on the different teams in the class to produce a magazine and online content for the event. I was part of Team Tank, and the team names were themed based on the location of the event. My teammates were Aaron, Shelby, and Carlos. And I felt like our team was really balanced in our skill sets. Aaron and Carlos excel at video, photo, and audio work. Shelby, again, is a fabulous writer, and I did design and photography. At the end of the class, we produced a magazine filled with the stories the class wrote and the photos that they took. On the right, you'll see a sneak peek of our editing process. What we did was we printed out the entire magazine and we put it out on all of the tables and made our edits, and then went back into InDesign and made the edits. But I'm sure the process is a little bit more streamlined with InDesign's new capabilities, but that's just what worked for us. So as I mentioned earlier, this class relies heavily on teamwork and trusting that the other teams will produce quality work or quality content and turn it in on time. In this class, professional relationships were built, which leads me to talking about how important the friendships you make in your Elliott School journey are, as well as the dreaded word of networking. So although I graduated 8 years ago, I still have strong friendships with Shelby, Jen, and Sean, all of whom I met through the Elliott School. I've mentioned Shelby a couple times now. She was on my Flint Hills Media Project team, and she's currently a reporter for the Wichita Business Journal. I also met Jen through the Flint Hills Media Project. She was on a different team than us, but we were able to connect on our similarities and our love for cats. She is currently an adjunct lecturer. And finally, I met Sean because someone, I think it was Amy, said that he loves to talk about design, and that was all it took for us to become friends. He's currently the communications specialist at the Wichita Public Library. So I think it's important to build relationships while you're in college with the people that you have classes with, because you never know what job opportunities may come up, if you need an inside scoop on a business or an organization, or if they know someone who could connect you with your dream job. I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. Admire these beautiful pictures. So the people you meet in college could also become your bridesmaids. So I got married in June of this year, and 3 of my bridesmaids were connected with the Elliott School. I've known Erin since middle school. She and I met during yearbook class, and she and I are basically the same person down to the make and model of car we drive. We also graduated with the same degree, and she's rocking it as the marketing specialist at Goodwill. I met Emily because Erin and Emily sat next to each other in an Elliott School class. Erin and I are the most introverted people that you'll ever meet, and then Emily is one of the most extroverted people I've ever known. So sometimes all it takes is an extrovert to make friends with an introvert, and the rest is history. Emily is currently rocking it as a workforce programs manager at Textron Aviation. And finally, Marcella and I became close friends because she was the communications specialist at Heartspring. She received her master's degree from the Elliott School and is one of the most kind-hearted people I know. She is rocking it as a mom to an almost 2-year-old. So before and after graduation, I had jobs at Wichita State. Around my sophomore or junior year, I worked in the Office of University Relations. It's now called the Office of Strategic Communications, and I was their web content assistant. In that role, I learned about content management systems, web design best practices, ADA, website design standards, how to work in an office environment, and I also networked with other university professionals. A semester or so before graduation, I started as the part-time graphic designer for the Office for Student Money Management. Because this was a new office on campus, I helped create the brand standards using Wichita State branding guidelines. I designed marketing materials, and I helped with tabling events to make students aware of this new office. Gosh, Amy has the big camera out. Here are a few examples of the pieces I made, and we made full use of the piggy bank as our mascot. So on the left and right, these are examples of posters that we hung up around campus, and then in the middle was a takeaway piece for students when they had sessions with our employees. Remember this photo, Madeline? Yeah. So I was also the part-time graphic designer at the WCU Foundation for about a year after I graduated. I would work at the foundation in the morning and then head over to the Office for Student Money Management in the afternoon. Here, I designed the print materials, created web and email graphics, and served as a staff photographer, as you can see here in this lovely photo that Madeline took of me at the 2015 graduation. The photos I took there were then used for future marketing materials for the foundation. Kind of love that picture.
Same shoes.
Yep. So I enjoyed working in both offices. However, after about a year, I wanted to find a full-time position. While in college, I joined Gamma Phi Beta sorority, and we had a local philanthropy. In the summer of 2015, a few friends sent me the job description for their graphic design specialist. And if you can't tell, the philanthropy I'm talking about is Heartspring. So I was hesitant to apply because it would be my first full-time position. I'm very thankful that I got over my nerves and applied because even though I went to the wrong building for my interview, I've now been there for more than 7 years, and it's the best job I could have ever asked for. Heartspring is a nonprofit, mission-driven organization where we create hope and opportunity that changes the lives of children with special needs and their families. But first, a quick history lesson. So we have a 4-part documentary series on our website for when we celebrated 85 years if you want to learn more, but for time's sake, I'll keep this short. So Heartspring was founded in 1934 by Dr. Martin Palmer as the Institute of Logopedics at the University of Wichita. Dr. Palmer created the organization because when he was 5 years old, he was told he had a hereditary eye condition that would cause him to go blind by the age of 40. Although the doctor's prediction was not correct, he never forgot the feeling of being told that he was not physically normal. He cultivated a curiosity for helping children with disabilities, which then became his life's mission. In 1934, keep that date in mind, 1934, Dr. Palmer was able to convince Dr. William Jardine, the president of the University of Wichita, to create the first separate department of logopedics. And if you don't know, logopedics is the study and correction of speech and language defects, disorders in communication, and swallowing disorders. So its first location was actually not too far from where we're at now. It was on the 4th floor of Jardine Hall. And an interesting fact about this location was that before they had an elevator in the building, Dr. Palmer hired the University of Wichita football players as well as ROTC members to carry the students who couldn't walk up and down the stairs. He helped children with cerebral palsy and other severe developmental disabilities. Our second location was at 17th and Fairmount in the old KMUW building. And then our third location was at 21st and Jardine Drive, where the Boys and Girls Club is now. The only thing that remains from this campus is the drive itself. Everything else has been completely redone. So while at this location, and after 60 years of growing the list of services they were providing, the Institute of Logopedics changed its name to Heartspring. Heart representing the basis of love and life, and spring representing a new season, a new life. Our current location is on 29th Street between Rock and Webb in East Wichita. And we currently have 3 main programs. The Heartspring School serves students ages 5 to 22 impacted by autism and other developmental disabilities. We specialize in caring for individuals with behaviors that interfere with academic, home, and community life. And our students live on campus and receive 24-hour care. This photo shows one of our students in our competitive integrative employment program, which teaches students real-life job skills through classroom work and school and community-based internships, which sets them on the path for greater independence after graduation. Outpatient services offers pediatric and autism therapies to children ages birth to 21. We offer physical, occupational, and speech therapy, applied behavioral analysis, or ABA, audiology, and behavioral health. So a fun fact about this photo is that sometimes you get a witness first that happened in therapy sessions. This photo shows the first time this little girl independently touched and drew shapes in the sand during her therapy sessions. So as you can see, we'll kind of see the therapist's eyes like are really lighting up. And finally, our Family Services and Community Outreach program offers training to businesses and schools to promote education and inclusion of autism and other complex needs. They also have parent trainings, team hangouts, and social skills clubs. This is our care coordinator, Tristan Moore, and she has presented her Understanding Autism training to several organizations and businesses across Wichita and the surrounding areas. So I'm part of Heartspring's marketing team, which is part of a larger team called the Advancement team. Advancement houses the philanthropy and marketing teams, and our mission is advancing the mission of Heartspring through engaging and artful storytelling, connecting those who seek and benefit from our services, inviting all to financially support and advocate for the families we serve. Get ready to say hi, Dave. So on my team, we have Sam, who is our fearless leader, director of marketing, and writer. Dave is our multimedia specialist, but people usually just call him the video guy, and he's here with us today. Dave, say hi. And then there's me, who's the graphic design specialist and photographer. So we're like Heartspring's ad agency, where we work with all the departments across the organization to create the best projects for what they're needing. We receive projects in a couple of different ways. Sam will meet with the department leads, typically on a monthly basis, and from those meetings, we'll get project requests. We'll also have employees fill out a marketing request form on our intranet, and then from there, we work with the individual or team to nail down what really needs to be created. So as the graphic design specialist, my job is more than making things look pretty. Although yes, I want them to look pleasing to the eye, I ensure that our print and web pieces are on brand, easy to read, and well designed so that if you were to cover up the logo on them, you would still be able to tell it's from Heartspring. So my job started as strictly design, but it has changed over the years to include photography and email marketing. I also help my teammates wherever I can. For example, if text needs to be edited, if a storyboard or if a video storyboard needs help, or if a theme of a fundraising event needs to be decided. More on that later. So you may be wondering why I've been in the same position at the same organization for more than 7 years. And the answer is pretty simple. I love my job. Heartspring is a mission-driven organization, and it's hard not to fall in love with the purpose behind it. Even though I don't work directly with the students or clients, it makes me happy knowing that my designs have an impact, whether that's getting new families to register for services, have donate money through an appeal campaign my team created, or simply become aware of the organization through an ad campaign, or from a presentation as I'm doing now. I can tell you that no 2 years have been the same since I started. From logo changes to capital campaigns to new leadership and restructuring of programs, all of these things may change. However, our commitment to providing top-notch care for children with special needs has never wavered. But I wouldn't be truthful if I told you it was all rainbows and butterflies. There are times where my job is challenging and stressful. Sometimes several big deadlines fall on the same day or in the same week. Miscommunication happens, something gets sent to the printer with an error, someone needs a new project done yesterday, but that's life. And you'll run into these issues wherever you work. It's all about how you and your team handle them. So above are some examples of the projects I work on, from social media to hiring campaigns and everything in between. And some of the things listed here have several projects within that project. For example, our fundraising events could require like 50 signs, banners, or other print pieces depending on what's needed that year. I love the variety of projects I'm a part of because it always makes my job feel fresh. But again, it can be very stressful. So how do I keep things in order? Here's what I currently use to track my projects. It's a simple Excel file with highlight rules for certain columns. If the due date is this week, it highlights to yellow. Next week, it highlights in green. And then if we missed it, it's highlighted in red. The tabs along the bottom show whether I'm working on the project, if it's been put on hold, or if it's completed. So this process works for me, but it may not work for you, and that's okay, because everyone's brain is wired a little bit differently. There are a lot of project management systems out there. Some are paid, some are free, and right now my team is in the process of trying out different Office 365 programs we now have access to, such as Planner and Lists, and then there's another option called Asana that we're looking at. So my Excel file might morph into something different fairly soon. Yeah, because we should be getting that nailed down pretty soon, yeah. Sure. Yeah, that was last week's. All right, so now let's jump into what some of these projects look like. A few of the different design projects I work on are print materials, event designs, and social media graphics. Starting with some print materials. As I walk you through these pieces, I want you to take note of how everything has a cohesive look and feel. On the left is an example of a one-pager, and this covers Heartspring as a whole, listing out our 3 departments. And it's a pretty high-level piece that's usually given to people who don't know much about Heartspring. And then the one on the right is an a by the numbers document that highlights stats throughout the fiscal year. And this piece can be used in grant proposals or when talking with donors. I will also note that on some of the pieces, we do use stock photography so that pieces can remain evergreen. At Heartspring, our students and clients' parents, they sign photo releases that are good for a year. However, we'll print one-pagers and trifolds in bulk and use them over several years. So it saves time and money for us to just use stock photography in those instances. So these are a couple examples of some stock images that we use. All right, I have an example to pass around. You've already seen that. So this year we created a catalog of all of the services that Heartspring provides. This booklet is given to families so they can see all of the services we provide at a glance and to learn more about them. I have another example. Twice a year, we publish our Heartspring Dialogue, which has department updates, stories about our students and clients, financial information, and more, just depending on what we want to put out that semester. And then here's an example of an end-of-year appeal design. This is sent in December to encourage people to donate before the new year. So design tip for the designers in the house. Studies have shown that you can get a better return on investment if your piece isn't flashy with the best paper, unique folds, and die cuts. The simpler your piece in the nonprofit world, the better. Think about it. If you received a super fancy letter from a nonprofit, you would probably question how they spend their money, and you may not donate to them. So speaking of that time of year, we also send out holiday cards. These are fun pieces that help us connect with our donors, supporters, and families. You'll notice how all of them fit within our brand. This is the one we did last year. I'll just flip through these really quick. This was the 2020 design, and then this was 2019. They were all 5x7 folded cards. So a large part of my job is designing the and digital materials for our two main fundraising events. We have a winter fundraising gala called Light Your Heart with Heartspring and a summer fundraising festival called CareFest. I'll talk more in depth about CareFest later in the presentation, but for now, I'm going to walk you through Light Your Heart. So Light Your Heart is our fundraising gala held at the Wichita Marriott. Guests enjoy food, drinks, entertainment, and live and silent auctions. This year's theme, it was inspired by the Chronicles of Narnia. And at the event, we recreated the scene in the movie where they walk through the wardrobe into the Winter Wonderland. We had a company build us literally wardrobe doors, and then guests walked through some coats, and then they were in a Winter Wonderland. And we made the print pieces, they had the regal feel to them. And some of the pieces I create for the event include save the dates, invitations, menus, programs, silent auction cards, VIP tickets, golden tickets, phone core signs that are placed throughout the event space, the PowerPoint presentation, and even a lamp house photo booth photo printout design. I actually have this is our invitation that we sent out this year. We made the fold so it was like the wardrobe. You open it up and you see the Winter Wonderland. So I'll go ahead and pass that one around to you. However, I think the coolest part of this year's event was our presenting sponsor was Relevant Audio and Visual, and they had this giant stage screen that really brought the designs to life. And I'm excited to work with them again for this upcoming, or for our 2023 event. So we're already planning what the screen is going to look like. And finally, another part of my job consists of creating social media graphics for our different platforms. Sometimes I feel like we're playing a never-ending game with Facebook for what kind of content reaches the most of our audience. However, I think we've nailed it down. We figured it out that our audience loves seeing photos of our students, clients, and our employees. Here are a few examples of the graphics that I've created. Get ready for your photo. All right, and like I mentioned earlier, my job started out as mainly graphic design. I don't remember how it happened, but soon enough, I was figuring out how to take new hire portraits. That grew into taking therapy photos and photos of our students instead of bringing in an outside photographer each time, because that can add up in cost. I'm also the main photographer for our fundraising and celebration events. I've taken a few photography classes through City Arts, and I'm still learning to this day how to make my photos better and better. YouTube has been great at helping. So first, I'll show you a few portrait examples. This is Stacy Williamson, our VP of Advancement. And fun fact, she and I used to work on events together at the WCU Foundation. This is Dr. Kenny Bowie. He's our interim president and CEO, as well as our chief operating officer. And this is Danielle Lewis. She's our director of equity, engagement, and student safety. And so these are some examples of photos of people. But there's been one portrait in particular that I've taken that is hands down my favorite photo ever. This is Cappy. She is our director of Happy at Heartspring. And she's Heartspring's therapy dog and works with our clients in behavioral health sessions. And yes, she is as sweet as she looks. She's so cute. You can't help but be happy when Cappy's around. So I also take photos of Heartspring students and clients. My goal is to capture the photos that highlight our different programs to show the community what Heartspring is all about. This photo is one of our students completing a Girls on the Run 5K. And if you're not familiar with Girls on the Run, it's much more than a running program. Their mission is to inspire girls to be joyful, healthy, and confident using a fun, experience-based curriculum, which creatively integrates running. So about 4 or 5 years ago, Heartspring was the first organization to do the program for girls with special needs. Here's another photo from that day, just showcasing the joy and that all the girls had. And then this is a photo of one of our students opening gifts at our Spirit Day of Giving event. Employees from Spirit Aerosystems donate gifts to our students, and they come to our campus and watch them open them. And it's probably the best day at Heartspring, seeing them open their gifts and just the joy on their faces. And finally, I take photos in our outpatient therapy sessions. Here, I take photos of the kids working hard in their sessions. Some kids are very distracted by the camera, so I have to be very covert and not let them see them taking pictures. And then other times they're complete hams for the camera and they'll just light up and give you the biggest smile. On the left is a little boy in a physical therapy session, and then on the right, he's in an occupational therapy session. And then I'll run through some examples of the event photography. So this was taken at this year's Light Your Heart event. We had a ballet performance. It's kind of showing you behind the scenes with the crowd and the dancers. This was the 2021 event. Our theme was Dr. Seuss. And so with all the bright colors and everything. And then this one was from was it 2019? Yeah, 2019, where we did a Wizard of Oz theme. And this was our former music director, Verlene, and she was about to take a bow. The students had just performed for the audience. The next few photos I'll show you were from CareFest this year. Here was the beginning of one of our Pedal Fest rides. And then we had Tanganyika out, so just capturing, the interactive booths that we had. This was Moss, Most Amazing Sound, who did an incredible beatbox performance for us. This is actually my boss's husband, but just showing some of the volunteers, just getting those candid moments, and then not so candid moments to use for advertising purposes for next year, come volunteer with us. All right, so speaking of CareFest. Remember this, Stacy? I now want to walk you through a fun design proposal I worked on with our web developer and event coordinator for the event. In 2020, the decision was made to combine 2 of our fundraising events, the Autism Care Walk and Pedal Fest, into one fundraising festival benefiting Heartspring. We needed to create a brand new look and feel for the event, so here's what we proposed. And as a disclaimer, I gave this presentation to Stacy, who I've now worked with for more than 8 years. So I went a little lighthearted and playful with the tone of it, but just whenever you give a presentation, it's best to tailor your presentation and your tone to who you're going to be giving it to. So yeah, you'll notice the fun. So first we said, let's set the mood. Does it spark joy? We wanted people to feel joyful, happy, and energized when they see our event branding. So we presented 3 different design directions. One was a more music festival look and feel. One was more illustrative using icons. And then the third one was a more modern, like clean take. So Pinterest to the rescue. Our web developer, Kendall, and I, we just pin a bunch of ideas onto our boards, and we narrowed it down to some of the top designs that we thought could really work for CareFest. The first one being a musical festival look and feel, having that eye-catching design, lots going on. CareFest has a lot going on. So not only did we have the Autism Care Walk and Pedal Fest, we were going to have an art show, a cookout, a cornhole tournament, family activities, just this whole, a lot of stuff going on. We wanted bright colors and energy. We also presented some illustrative examples where it was kind of taking that chaos, but making it a little bit more compact with the icons within a bigger shape. And then finally, we presented some modern examples, just bright colors and clean lines. So here's where it gets kind of goofy. So what if we combined two of the design directions into one direction? Again, this was to Stacy and cheesy. So we propose that we combine the illustrative and modern examples using icons, bold colors, and geometric shapes. So then we found this really great example that combined all of these elements. So we just kind of went through like what would work, how could we do this for this print piece, just showing different examples. Like this could be some of the swag we gave out, how the different designs could be applied. And then here's another by the same designer, had a different campaign. And we really liked this, again, with the bright, fun colors and everything seemed clean. And then we had some t-shirt examples of what we could do, how we could lay out the icons and everything. So we said the illustrative and modern design direction would be bold, eye-catching, and memorable. We could easily switch out the icons year to year, depending on what the activities we were going to provide. So if we weren't going to do an art show the next year, we could remove that icon and place something else and just kind of switch it up, but it would still kind of remain cohesive. It saves on design time for a quick turnaround of projects because, as you saw earlier in the presentation, I'm not only working on event designs throughout the year, we have all the other department projects we're working on. So if we need to like quickly get something out, the design needs to be able to quickly change and so we can get it out there. And it creates a sense of structure and organization for an event that has so much going on. So in this part of the presentation, I handed it over to Kendall, our web developer. And so I was like, take it away, Kendall. And he had talked all about his web design knowledge and how we could use the illustrative and modern designs for CareFest. So I hope we have some Goonies fans in here. So he started out with talking about chunking, which is a web term that makes content easier to read. The white space breaks up the content. Iconography helps provide visual guideposts. Photos, videos, textures, and patterns can add variety and depth. And blocking can allow us to fully utilize the power of the grid in web design frameworks. And then just another example of how we could use the colors, color blocking, using the photos and everything. So then we moved on to the color scheme for CareFest. Color me curious about the color scheme. At the time that I gave the presentation, it was still a work in progress, but we decided to take the Heartspring colors along the top and add energy to them. So just bumping it up a little bit, and then we added on 2 colors, which I like to call watermelon and sunshine, just to keep with that summer festival theme. And then we walked through some of the fonts that we really liked, if we needed to purchase any, or if they were Creative Commons or free. So here was some that we kind of had our eye on. And then we talked about, does CareFest warrant its own logo? Nope. Here's what we suggest instead. So let's use the Heartspring logo as the logo and then CareFest in the theme. So Woofstock does a really good job of this, where they keep the Kansas Humane Society logo like at the bottom. So you always know it's for the Humane Society. But Woofstock changes year to year depending on what theme they have. Why should we do this? It keeps Heartspring at the forefront of the event. And CareFest can evolve with the event theme. Hopefully every 3 to 5 years or so, we can establish event brand identity and recognition in the community. So in review, we talked about the mood, design directions, proposed design direction, website design, color scheme, fonts, and logo choice. So here's one of the final designs we created for CareFest, and this was in 2021. We put all of the icons inside of the Heartspring logo to not only clean up the design, but show that the events were happening at Heartspring and for Heartspring. I could show you all of the print materials that we created, but I would need another presentation for that. So here's a billboard example that we created. Super simple, minimal text. You want your billboards to have 7 words or fewer, so your drivers can easily get the message and not get in an accident. I see a lot of times, so many billboards across Wichita have so much text on them. I'm like, I want to know what your billboard's about, but you're giving me too much information. So here's another one, just switching up the design a little bit. It makes it fresh to drivers. Drivers think it's new, so they're like, oh, that looks familiar, but it looks different. So Nicole Cooper at Comm Media, who we do a lot of our media buying through, she gave me the billboard advice to switch up the designs just so drivers can look at it, so you get more eyes on your boards. All right. And then here are a couple of examples of social media graphics. Again, just keeping things simple. That was when we announced when registration was opening, and then that was our t-shirt design in 2021. So things are going great, ads are rocking and rolling, and then CareFest went virtual. So about a week or so before the event, the decision was made to turn CareFest into a virtual event for the safety of our families and our supporters. So my team quickly pivoted, you know, the scene from Friends where they pivot, that's what my team did, to get the message out about CareFest going virtual. And so on my side of things, I condensed the design down to what looked like pixels using the same color scheme to represent that virtual element that carried throughout the designs. We sent out a press release, updated our website, switched over our social media graphics, and created a new game plan for how is this event going to look virtually. We did several Facebook Lives. Dave did probably the most Facebook Lives he's ever done in a day, and brought CareFest to our supporters that way. So flash forward to a year later, and the design changed to this. We kept the color scheme the same, but polished up the look a bit. Instead of having icons in the Heartspring heart, we designed them into a circle to represent togetherness and cohesiveness, all while still representing the activities taking place. So I have one more example to pass around. This is our event guide that we created for our participants that walked you through some important information, the event map and schedule, a shout out to our sponsors, and a thank you message. And then here's how we refresh the billboards. Again, keeping CareFest or the text really large. You want your drivers to get, you know, your main message, like, okay, CareFest, and here's the website. A lot of times on billboards, the website will be placed in the bottom corner, but that needs to be bigger, so that's where people need to go. And then we also added some stock imagery to the billboards, just showing that it's a kid-friendly event. Again, bright colors, and the website really big name of the event really big. Because billboards shouldn't carry the whole weight of your campaign. They're used more as reminders for people. Then you can hit them hard on like digital ads and flyers and postcards. So a problem we were running into this year was that people still weren't exactly sure what CareFest was. So in 2020, we didn't have any events because everyone knows why. And then in 2021, we had the event go virtual. And then in 2022, we had the event in person. And so we did some targeted ads that advertised the Autism Care Walk and Pedal Fest at CareFest. Instead of CareFest being the main message, we flipped it to where if you were a participant in the Autism Care Walk in prior years, you're like, oh, I recognize that name. And then, oh, what's CareFest? And then you can go to the website to learn more. So here's an example for the Autism Care Walk billboard. And then we did the same thing with Pedal Fest. Again, just bright colors, easy to read, which I think helped a lot with our participant having them sign up. And then we also started putting a math equation on our marketing materials. I was like, why can't we just spell it out for them? So you can't really see it in the green bar. It says Autism Care Walk plus Pedal Fest equals Heartsprings Care Fest. So I'm excited to see how the event grows over time. And we already have plans to make next year's event even better. Because this year it was a very long event. Because we started way early in the morning, and then we had activities throughout the day, and then we had another main event in the evening. So we've already talked about how to change up the timeline to have more people on campus, more energy, and more fun. And it's in August, so it's hot, so everyone wants to go home by midday. Alrighty, so whenever I attended a presentation in college, I loved it when the presenter gave a list of design resources or websites to get inspiration from to help with designing. So here's a list of some of the resources I have used throughout my career, and feel free to take a picture of the screen. I use Designer's Toolbox for their list of envelope and enclosure sizes, so the printing companies are happy with me. Jessica Hish is an incredible lettering artist and author. And then Satori Graphics is, he has quick and easy to follow YouTube videos about design, ranging from logo design, and he also gives examples of free design resources and everything in between. My team, we use FreePic a lot. That has a bunch of vector images and photos and icons that you can just pull, because you don't want to, or like I don't like creating things from scratch all the time. So it's easy to just like pick them from the website and use them how I need to in the designs. All right, quiz time. So I hope you guys are paying attention. I call them the everlasting gobstoppers. They're these little like fidget toys that you guys can win. All right, what is the name of Heartspring's founder? Yes. I'm not going to throw these because this is on camera and I don't want that recorded. All right, what year was the Institute of Logopedics founded? Yes. Okay. Here. Yeah, don't want to be welcome. Don't want it to be hazardous. All right. And then which school did I start in at WSU? No. Yes. And bonus point if you can guess which major I started with. Yes. All right, and then I have one final question, and this is I brought a CareFest t-shirt to win. What are Heartspring's 3 main departments?
Family services and community outreach, outpatient services, ages birth to 21, and therapeutic and residential school.
Impressive. Yes, that is correct. Right, there you go. Yeah, even the age is in there. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. I'll hang around to answer a few questions if any of you have any about Heartspring or design in general. Otherwise, I appreciate the time that you all, or to speak to you all today, and thank you for joining me. I also have pens and chapstick and hand sanitizer up here. Feel free to take one. If you want to look through the design pieces,